When your husband casually reveals that his ex will be joining you for Christmas dinner, the shock factor is immediately apparent. From his perspective, it may have seemed like a harmless update, a simple logistical note about the evening's guest list. He might have pictured your reaction as a polite nod or neutral acknowledgement, assuming that the ex is just another adult from his past whose presence would not provoke strong feelings. In his mind, everyone would eat, chat politely, and the evening would pass without incident, never anticipating the ripple of intense emotions such news could create. However, the reality is far more complex. The announcement carries a heavy emotional load, even if the past relationship ended amicably, sparking curiosity about her visit, memories of shared experiences, and anxiety about how interactions might unfold. The shock is intensified because this is not merely a casual meetup, but a special occasion with personal significance, traditions, and expectations. The casual delivery of this news sharply contrasts with the mental and emotional storm it can provoke, creating a moment of surprise and tension. Timing plays a crucial role, as such information is often delivered out of context and without warning, leaving the recipient unprepared. The brain reacts instinctively to unexpected developments, triggering emotional and physiological responses, such as a racing heartbeat, sudden alertness, or a sharp intake of breath. For the spouse receiving the news, it can feel as though the ground has shifted beneath them, while the husband remains blissfully unaware of the potential storm, assuming indifference. This mismatch between expectation and reality highlights how the shock factor can produce a dramatic, emotionally layered, and sometimes humorous or tense moment that neither party will forget. Beyond the initial shock, the news can provoke a powerful wave of emotions, including jealousy, insecurity, and anger. At first glance, one might think, it's just an ex, but the situation carries far more emotional weight. Even in secure relationships, the presence of a former partner can stir complex feelings rooted in past memories, comparisons, or perceived threats, as the human brain instinctively evaluates risks to social and romantic bonds. Jealousy is a common reaction, emerging not only from fear of current relational threats, but also from reminders of past intimacy. Seeing someone who was once significant in your partner's life can lead to questions, both rational and irrational, about their past connection and whether your spouse misses aspects of that relationship. These thoughts often manifest subtly as tension, heightened alertness, or a shift in mood during the dinner. Insecurity is closely tied to jealousy, prompting self-doubt about your place in the relationship or comparisons to the ex. The social setting of a family dinner can intensify these feelings, making the event feel public and evaluative and leading to self-conscious behaviors, overthinking, or the urge to perform to assert your position. Anger may also arise, stemming from the perception that boundaries were crossed or that your feelings were overlooked, compounded by fear of awkward interactions or frustration at being placed in an uncomfortable situation. Together, jealousy, insecurity, and anger create a potent emotional mix that can manifest internally, externally, or both. How you respond, through humor, assertiveness, or subtle gestures, can shape the evening's dynamic. Recognizing the emotional impact of this announcement is essential for managing it effectively, setting personal boundaries, and navigating what might otherwise be a tense or awkward holiday gathering. When your husband announces that his ex will be joining Christmas dinner, it immediately raises questions about personal boundaries and comfort levels regarding former partners. Boundaries are the invisible yet crucial lines that define our comfort zones in relationships, indicating what is acceptable and what feels intrusive or uncomfortable. In any healthy partnership, both spouses must navigate these boundaries carefully, particularly when it comes to interactions with ex-partners. This situation acts as a litmus test, revealing how well each partner understands and respects the other's emotional space. The presence of an ex at a holiday gathering challenges comfort levels in several ways. First, it tests emotional boundaries, as seeing a former partner can provoke unexpected feelings of jealousy, insecurity, or resentment, which, if left unaddressed, can fester and create tension within the relationship. Establishing boundaries around emotional exposure means communicating honestly about what situations feel threatening or uncomfortable and negotiating compromises that respect both partners' feelings. Second, social boundaries come into play. A festive dinner typically involves family, friends, and traditions meant to be relaxing and enjoyable, and introducing an ex can feel disruptive, forcing one partner to navigate awkward social interactions or defend their comfort in front of others. Boundaries help define acceptable interactions, such as whether casual conversation is fine, which topics should be avoided, or whether seating arrangements need adjustment to minimize discomfort. Third, this situation highlights relationship boundaries. Every couple establishes unspoken rules about loyalty, trust, and respect, and inviting an ex to an intimate family event without prior discussion could feel like a boundary has been crossed, signaling a need for clearer communication. Discussing and enforcing these boundaries is essential for maintaining mutual respect and trust. Ultimately, boundaries are not about controlling the other person, but about protecting one's emotional well-being while fostering a respectful partnership. By asserting comfort levels and negotiating compromises, both partners can navigate potentially tricky situations with clarity and confidence. The announcement that an ex will attend a holiday dinner becomes less of a threat and more of an opportunity to strengthen the relationship by openly defining and respecting each other's limits, ensuring that the festive occasion remains joyful rather than stressful. The news that your husband's ex will be at Christmas dinner also serves as a real-world test of communication skills within the relationship. Sensitive topics like ex-partners or potentially uncomfortable social situations require a high degree of honesty, empathy, and clarity. How each partner reacts and how the conversation unfolds reveals much about the state of communication, as well as the mutual respect and understanding present. At its core, this scenario is about emotional transparency. When faced with news that triggers feelings such as jealousy, insecurity, or surprise, the ability to articulate those emotions calmly and clearly is crucial. Instinctive reactions such as humor, sarcasm, or passive aggression, if left unexplained, can create misunderstandings. Effective communication requires naming your feelings, explaining why, and discussing what would help you feel secure or respected. Active listening is equally important. The husband, who may have shared the news casually, must hear and validate his partner's response without defensiveness, attending not only to the words but also to the emotional undertones. Listening actively demonstrates that he values his partner's perspective and is willing to adjust plans or behaviors to maintain harmony. Conversely, the spouse's reaction, whether patient or confrontational, signals how well both partners can engage in dialogue under stress. This situation also tests negotiation and compromise, as sensitive topics often require give and take, such as discussing boundaries for the dinner, topics to avoid, or ways to ensure everyone feels comfortable. The ability to reach agreement without resentment demonstrates maturity and shared commitment. Nonverbal communication is another factor. Tone of voice, facial expressions, and body language can escalate tension or help de-escalate it. A calm, empathetic approach often diffuses conflict, while sarcasm or dismissiveness may inflame it. In summary, the announcement of an ex at a holiday gathering acts as a mirror, reflecting a couple's strengths and weaknesses in handling sensitive conversations. How the couple navigates this scenario can strengthen trust and understanding, or, if handled poorly, sow seeds of tension, turning a potentially awkward situation into an opportunity for growth. The moment your husband announces that his ex will be joining Christmas dinner, your immediate reaction becomes the defining moment of the interaction. This first response is far more than a fleeting expression. It sets the emotional tone for the rest of the evening and can influence the atmosphere of the entire gathering. In a situation charged with potential tension, your instinctive reaction often communicates more than words could, revealing your feelings, expectations, and even your personality in a single instant. Some reactions may be playful, using humor or light teasing to diffuse the tension. A playful response can signal confidence and emotional security, showing that you are capable of handling the situation with grace and wit. Humor can act as a buffer, softening the potential awkwardness and signaling to both your husband and his ex that while the news is surprising, it does not pose a serious threat to your relationship. It transforms a potentially stressful moment into a memorable shared laugh, helping everyone relax and enjoy the festive atmosphere. Conversely, a sarcastic reaction may communicate displeasure or discomfort without openly confronting the issue. Sarcasm often reflects underlying frustration or irritation and can serve as a subtle signal to your husband that boundaries or expectations may have been overlooked. While it can be funny and entertaining in moderation, sarcasm carries a risk. If misunderstood, it may create defensiveness or tension, potentially escalating the situation rather than resolving it. A serious response demonstrates clear communication and emotional honesty. Expressing your discomfort, asking questions, or calmly outlining your boundaries signals that you are taking the situation seriously and expect the same level of respect from your partner. A measured, serious response can prevent misunderstandings, encourage open dialogue, and establish a mutual respect for emotional boundaries. Finally, a dramatic reaction, over-the-top expressions of shock, disbelief, or even theatrical indignation can instantly turn the announcement into a memorable story. While dramatic responses may exaggerate the emotional stakes, they can also serve as a release valve for built-up tension, providing humor and entertainment for those involved. Ultimately, your initial reaction acts as the emotional primer for the evening. It frames how your husband interprets your feelings, influences how his ex interacts with you, and shapes the overall tone of the dinner. Whether playful, sarcastic, serious, or dramatic, this first response is pivotal. It sets the stage for how the situation unfolds and how everyone navigates the complex web of emotions surrounding the presence of an ex at a holiday gathering. The phrase, "he had no idea what was coming next," immediately signals that the scenario is about to take an unpredictable turn, one that could completely upend your husband's expectations. When someone casually mentions an ex attending a holiday gathering, they often assume the news will be met with a standard reaction: mild curiosity, polite acknowledgement, or perhaps a brief discussion about logistics. However, the reality is that your response might diverge sharply from these assumptions, introducing an unexpected twist that catches him completely off guard. This unpredictability is central to the drama and humor of the situation. The twist could manifest in a variety of ways. Perhaps you had a playful, over-the-top reaction, pretending to faint, dramatically clutch your chest, or insist that a Christmas duel must ensue. Such a response not only surprises your husband, but also injects levity into what could otherwise be an awkward moment. By exaggerating your reaction, you shift the focus from discomfort to entertainment, turning a potentially tense situation into a story everyone will remember. Alternatively, the twist could be strategic or clever. Maybe you had quietly devised a plan to subtly assert boundaries or make the evening more comfortable for yourself without creating conflict. For instance, you might have rearranged seating, prepared a humorous icebreaker, or decided to engage the ex in a controlled conversation to set the tone of politeness and respect. In this case, the twist is not just about shock value, it is a calculated move demonstrating emotional intelligence and social savvy. There's also room for a mischievous or playful twist, one that highlights your personality and sense of humor. For example, pretending to treat the ex like a long-lost celebrity, staging a mock interrogation, or even cooking a slightly special dish could catch your husband entirely off guard. These creative, unexpected reactions emphasize your confidence and ability to handle potentially awkward situations with flair. Ultimately, the unexpected twist underlines the power of surprise in human interaction. By reacting in a way that your husband could not predict, you shift the dynamics of the situation, influencing not only his perception of the event, but also the overall atmosphere of the dinner. The twist becomes the memorable centerpiece of the evening, a moment that highlights your individuality, sets the tone for interactions, and leaves a lasting impression. The announcement that an ex will be attending Christmas dinner isn't just a social challenge. It provides a window into the power dynamics within your relationship. Power dynamics refer to the ways influence, control, and authority are negotiated between partners, especially in emotionally charged situations. How each partner reacts, communicates, and asserts themselves can reveal subtle but important patterns of trust, respect, and emotional equilibrium. One key aspect is trust. Inviting an ex to a family or intimate gathering tests the level of trust in a relationship. Does your partner trust you to handle the situation with confidence and composure? Do you trust your partner to maintain boundaries and behave respectfully? The ability to navigate the event without jealousy, resentment, or overreaction reflects a balanced power dynamic rooted in mutual trust. Conversely, if trust is fragile, small gestures or comments can quickly escalate into tension, signaling an imbalance in relational power. Another facet is humor. Humor can act as a balancing force in power dynamics. A playful, witty, or ironic response can diffuse tension, showcase confidence, and subtly assert control over a potentially awkward scenario. By choosing to respond with levity, you communicate that you are comfortable in your position within the relationship and capable of managing socially delicate situations. Humor also signals emotional intelligence, allowing you to set the tone without confrontation, while maintaining a sense of authority over your own feelings. Assertiveness is equally crucial. A partner who clearly expresses boundaries, preferences, or discomfort without aggression demonstrates a healthy level of self-respect. Assertiveness ensures that one's needs are communicated effectively and considered in decision-making, shifting the power dynamic toward equality rather than dominance. In this scenario, assertiveness might involve negotiating seating arrangements, discussing how interactions will unfold, or making it clear that certain topics or behaviors are off-limits. Finally, the situation illuminates the negotiation of influence in a relationship. Who shapes the atmosphere, who sets the tone, and who reacts versus initiates. These subtle signals reveal the balance of emotional power. A well-managed response, whether humorous, assertive, or strategic, can reinforce a partnership based on equality, respect, and collaboration. The presence of an ex at a holiday gathering is more than a social curiosity. It becomes a lens through which the dynamics of trust, humor, and assertiveness are magnified. How each partner navigates this delicate scenario reveals not only individual personalities, but also the strength and balance of the relationship itself. The news that your husband's ex will be attending Christmas dinner immediately shifts the situation from a simple holiday gathering to one that requires careful planning and forethought. While many people might assume that dinner will proceed as usual, the presence of someone with a potentially complicated history introduces a need for strategic preparation. Planning ahead in this context is not just about logistics, it's about emotional intelligence, diplomacy, and managing both comfort and social dynamics. One of the most obvious areas for planning is seating arrangements. Where everyone sits can significantly impact the evening's tone. Placing the ex too close might create discomfort or tension, while strategically positioning them in a neutral or less intimate spot can prevent awkward moments. Thoughtful seating demonstrates awareness of everyone's needs and can help minimize potential conflict, allowing the gathering to proceed more smoothly. Topics of conversation are another critical area. Certain subjects might be sensitive or emotionally charged, such as past relationships, family drama, or personal achievements. Planning ahead can involve mentally preparing conversation boundaries or subtly guiding discussions to neutral, inclusive topics. This foresight ensures that interactions remain respectful and enjoyable for all attendees, reducing the likelihood of misunderstandings or emotional flare-ups. Food and drink arrangements can also play a surprisingly important role. Planning ahead might involve preparing a special dish for comfort, ensuring everyone's preferences are considered, or even using meal preparation as a distraction to ease tension. Thoughtful attention to details like these demonstrates care and consideration, signaling that the goal is a pleasant and harmonious experience rather than a competitive or stressful one. Additionally, planning ahead includes emotional preparation. Anticipating your own reactions, rehearsing polite responses, or even discussing potential scenarios with your spouse beforehand can make you feel more confident and in control. This reduces stress, reinforces boundaries, and allows you to navigate the evening gracefully. Ultimately, planning ahead transforms a potentially awkward or tense situation into a structured, manageable event. It empowers you to set the tone, safeguard comfort, and maintain both social etiquette and emotional balance. The ability to think strategically in advance highlights emotional intelligence and relational maturity, ensuring that the evening remains festive, enjoyable, and memorable for everyone involved. The presence of your husband's ex at Christmas dinner doesn't just affect the two of you, it introduces a layer of social pressure that can significantly influence the evening. Social gatherings, especially holiday events, are inherently loaded with expectations. Everyone is supposed to be cheerful, polite, and engaged in pleasant conversation. When an ex enters the mix, these expectations collide with emotional realities, creating a complex social dynamic that can either heighten tension or enhance the entertainment value of the evening. One of the most immediate effects of social pressure is the potential for amplified awkwardness. Family members or friends may notice subtle tensions, side glances, or shifts in conversation dynamics. They might unintentionally ask pointed questions about past relationships, make comparisons, or tease in a way that intensifies discomfort. Even well-meaning guests can inadvertently place you or your husband in the spotlight, forcing you to navigate delicate interactions while maintaining composure. The awareness of being observed magnifies emotions, making every glance, gesture, or comment feel more consequential. On the other hand, social pressure can also make the situation entertaining. Observing the subtle interactions between a spouse, their ex, and other guests can create moments of humor, irony, or playful drama. Quick-witted remarks, exaggerated reactions, or clever management of awkward situations often become stories that everyone remembers for years. Social pressure, in this sense, can serve as a catalyst for creativity, prompting inventive ways to diffuse tension and showcase personality. Moreover, the presence of family and friends often shapes behavior and boundaries. People tend to moderate their actions in public settings, particularly when under scrutiny. This dynamic can encourage polite conversation, tactful humor, and respectful interactions, even if underlying emotions are complicated. Social pressure can thus act as a stabilizing force, nudging everyone towards civility and harmony. Finally, it's important to recognize that social pressure also highlights relational dynamics. How your spouse handles the ex's presence in front of others, how you assert your comfort, and how other guests respond can reveal much about trust, communication, and influence within relationships. Observing these interactions can provide insights into not only your own relationship, but also the social fabric of your broader family or friend circle. Social pressure during a holiday dinner with an ex present is a double-edged sword. It can heighten awkwardness and stress, but it can also create memorable, entertaining moments and encourage everyone to engage with tact and creativity. The key lies in navigating it with awareness, humor, and poise. One of the most enduring aspects of a scenario like your husband's ex attending Christmas dinner is its potential to become a memorable story, a tale that will be retold for years, evolving into part of family lore or a legendary anecdote shared among friends. These moments are often unpredictable, emotionally charged, and rich in human dynamics, which makes them inherently captivating. What might start as an awkward or tense situation can transform into a story that highlights humor, creativity, drama, or even triumph in navigating complex social situations. The key to why these moments become memorable lies in their emotional intensity and novelty. Ordinary holiday dinners tend to blend together. People eat, chat, and follow familiar routines. Introducing an X into this familiar setting instantly disrupts the status quo, creating a scenario filled with surprise, tension, and opportunity. The unexpected element, whether it is a dramatic reaction, a witty retort, or a humorous mishap, provides a narrative hook that makes the evening stand out in everyone's memory. Humor often plays a central role in turning potentially uncomfortable situations into stories worth telling. A clever comment, playful sarcasm, or an exaggerated reaction can diffuse tension and simultaneously create a scene that is entertaining to recount later. For example, a playful welcome back toast, a mock rivalry over a dish, or an over-the-top gesture of faux indignation can become the punchline of a story told at future gatherings. Even subtle moments, like sidelong glances or tense but polite conversations, gain significance when remembered later, illustrating the drama of the night. Drama and unexpected twists further enhance the memorability of the story. The very unpredictability of human behavior, how your spouse reacts, how the ex engages, or how family members comment, adds layers to the narrative, making it more compelling. Stories that contain surprise elements or clever maneuvers tend to stick in the memory because they deviate from the norm, leaving a lasting impression. Ultimately, these moments endure because they are relatable and human. They capture emotions that everyone has experienced: jealousy, surprise, humor, or embarrassment, but in a heightened, almost theatrical context. Years later, even the tension of the evening may be remembered fondly, transformed into laughter and shared storytelling. A Christmas dinner with an ex can evolve from a potentially stressful encounter into a legendary anecdote that defines a family tradition of storytelling, humor, and resilience in navigating the unexpected. If this story felt a little too relatable, or if you caught yourself thinking, "What would I do in that situation?" go ahead and hit that like button. Drop a comment below and tell me, how would you react if your partner casually announced that their ex was coming to Christmas dinner? Calm and confident, or full holiday drama? For more real-life relationship moments, unexpected twists, and stories that live right in that awkward but honest space, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to turn on notifications, because the next story might be even more uncomfortable or even more entertaining. Until next time, remember, sometimes the most awkward moments make the best stories.